I think we're fine. Alrighty. Kat, welcome to the podcast for the first time. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So we're going to talk about Facebook ads special categories,
Yeah.
which is something that is really important to understand if you're advertising on Facebook, particularly if you're in certain sectors.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of information out there about them and what they are and what they mean and what it means if you end up in a special category.
Yeah, if you don't know about them, then you could really kind of screw up your ads that you're running.
Yeah.
So special ad categories are kind of used for housing, political, social ads, and also job ads. So if you're looking at running any type of ads with that kind of association, you'll need to run it in a special ad category.
Yeah. So like the political ads, to me, that's an obvious one.
It makes sense, yeah.
Housing as a category and jobs as a category, like my first thought is like, why do they need to? Why are they? What's special about? What's special about housing and jobs?
Yeah, I think it's more so Facebook can monitor their policies in an easier way.
Yeah.
So when it comes to job opportunities and housing, it's that you can't discriminate against who you show those ads to.
Got you. So for like jobs, for example,
Yeah.
you can't obviously discriminate against who you're serving
Showing
job
them
ads
to.
to.
Yeah, and I know
Got you.
Facebook's got into a bit of a
Pickle?
a slight pickle there this week, that people believe their AI system isn't showing ads to the correct people. So an example would be a nursing job advert is being shown to only females, not
Right.
through anything that people are doing. It's the AI system behind Facebook that's doing it.
Yeah. That makes
So
sense.
they're in a slight pickle at the moment, trying to say that the AI system is showing it to people who are likely to respond to that ad. Doesn't matter that they're just female.
Yeah.
It's not because they're female that they're being shown the ad.
Yeah.
But when it comes to housing and jobs, the special ad category limits who you can show the ads to. So it's things like the age range can't be changed, so it has to be 18 to 65. You can show it to both male and females. You can't choose a gender. There's a lot of interests that you can't target.
Okay.
You can target a few things like location,
Yep.
obviously. So if you need a job in Canada, then you can show a job in Canada, but it's very limited to what you can do in terms of targeting to prevent that policy from being broken,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, you saying that makes so much sense when you're talking about jobs.
Yeah.
Housing.
Slightly more confusing.
What falls into housing? Like, is that anything to do with housing? So estate agents, advertising listings.
Yeah, I believe so. So if you go onto like Facebook blueprints and things and look at the information, obviously it's not something that I've come across because we don't run any housing ads,
Sure,
but
yeah.
it's any housing opportunity. So from
Okay.
what I believe it could be like, as you said, estate agents. We run ads to a luxury care home client. We had a Facebook rep who was surprised that we hadn't been caught up in that yet.
Within the housing,
Yeah.
even though it's residential care.
Yeah,
Wow.
that seemed to still come under that housing element.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of a grey area on what is a special ad category.
Yep.
I think it's anything that is going to cause a policy to be violated,
Yep.
but it's an ad that can still run, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess, again, taking that housing example, there's probably a lot on the periphery that could just end up like triggering a warning or something like that.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, surveys,
Yeah.
like housing surveys or interior design, or
Yeah.
depending on, I guess, the language you use in your ads, you may or may not trigger.
Yeah, and I think the problem with special ad categories, unless you know about them, you'll start to run an ad, it'll get rejected, and you'll then get told you need to be in a special ad category.
Yep.
To get the ability to run special ad categories, you need to be approved by Facebook,
Yeah.
which can be a relatively long process.
Yeah.
So we did it for a client relatively recently, and
Who'd ended up in the jobs, they're in the jobs
Yeah.
category, yeah.
Yes, they wanted to start showing ads for jobs, And it took them 4 weeks to get approved by Facebook to run special ad category campaigns.
Wow.
Which then kind of, it was so unexpected that it became a problem. But if you are prepared for it and you know, okay, I might need a special ad category campaign, if you get approved early, then you won't run into the problem of it.
Like, so approval for political ads has been around for a while.
Yeah.
Then but the jobs, that's relatively new, isn't it?
For
is it
us,
a special category?
Yeah, so
you used to be able to just run job ads.
No, it has to be in a special ad category
but now. Okay.
Yeah.
What about, so the process for approval, what do you have to go through? So it takes 4 weeks. Is it literally a case of going to a rep and asking, like?
So you need to, I don't know why it took 4 weeks for our client.
Major pain in the arse, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. So the reason it took so long for him, I don't know whether it was their internal kind of HR team that took a long time to sort it, but what you need to do is prove who you are to Facebook. So you need to have double authentication on, which is kind of standard at the moment. If you don't have that, then it's
so that's
likely,
the two-step authentication.
So it's likely Facebook will probably ask you to do that anyway.
Yeah.
But then you have other things where you need to send proof of ID. So proof of ID and a proof of where you live. So like a rental contract or something.
Yeah.
That should be the end of the process.
Should.
Yes, you then send it to Facebook and Facebook can then decide whether you're real or not.
Yeah.
The only other thing that could happen is that Facebook will send a code to that residential address.
Yep.
And then you'll need to put that code into Facebook.
Right, to prove
that you live there or it's your company or something.
Yeah.
But you have to be admin on Business Manager to do that.
Right.
So it just seems to take a while for our client. It shouldn't take that long. Like I know with Facebook they always say 24 to 48 hours. It took 4 weeks. So that's why we were a bit delayed and everything, because it wasn't something that was expected. And then it took a long time.
And it's not expected because they don't really talk about the special ad categories until, like I don't think many people will know about them until they've ended up in one.
Yeah, and then you have all your ads rejected.
Yeah.
And then you have to go through this long process.
Yeah.
Of getting it approved.
And it's a bit different to, say, approval for running ads or anything to do with gaming.
Yeah.
Like you have to go through an approval process for that, but these are slightly different. It's a slightly different thing here, isn't it?
Yeah, and as I said earlier, like if you don't know about it, then you're gonna get caught out.
Yeah, or if you just suddenly trigger something and end up in, you know, with Facebook thinking you're in that category, suddenly you've then got a 4 week process to go through.
Yeah, well,
ish.
24 to 48 hours, but 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a really difficult position to be in, but if you know it's something that you want to do in the future, you know you might want to run job ads, then get approved now, even if it's 6 months away.
Yeah.
You'll still have that authorized access to run those ads.
Yeah, or if you're in anything to do with housing.
Anything to do with
housing. And there is the minute risk that you're going to trigger
run into that problem.
Get the approval.
Yeah.
And how do you go about getting the approval? Do you contact support? Do you how does that process work?
It's through Business Manager.
Right.
So you once you get rejected, hopefully you don't, it takes you through the steps of getting approved, authorized. It seems like it's a really simple process. It just took us a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all done. So once you set the campaign up, once you have been authorized, you put in the campaign that it is a special ad category.
Okay.
So it's campaign based, and then the ad sets within that will be approved if you're running job ads and things. So
got you.
For a specific client, we have a separate campaign for job ads.
Got you.
Because their other ads are fine. They're not something to worry about.
And then that's hooked into the special ads category, so it's all nice and clearly defined.
Yeah.
And when you, let's say you're not aware of it, you run a job ad or you run an ad to do with housing, I think everyone's pretty much aware of the fact that you need approval from political ads.
Yes.
I think pretty much everyone will know that. But let's say you run an ad and you're not aware that these job and housing special categories exist, and you get they get paused until you've got the approval. Does the whole ad account get paused, or is it just those
It
campaigns?
should just be those campaigns. I think it was actually ad based with us, so the ad itself got rejected.
There's a massive tractor going past. I may or may not hear that on here.
Yeah, it was the ad itself that got rejected.
Got ya.
We then spoke to Facebook support, who were as unhelpful as ever, and that made us look into it further. So we knew the client wanted to run these job ads.
So there was no obvious, saying that, there was no obvious warning or message to say, we're very sorry, Kat, but your ad has been rejected because it falls into a special category of jobs. You need to go through approval here. It just got rejected.
It got rejected, and then what I've been noticing with Facebook lately is things will get rejected, and then like 24 hours later, it'll give you a reason why it was rejected.
A proper reason or a random reason?
It depends on what it is. Yeah. So with this, we spoke to Facebook support. They said, well, they were not as helpful as you'd hope. They said it was special ad category, and then my colleague and I had to look further into that to understand what we needed to do from our side.
Right. Okay.
It's such a weird thing that you need to know about. It's such a niche thing.
Yeah.
That's why if you are considering running ads like that, even if it's not for another 6 months, just get approved, get authorized. Like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's the really good advice there is, if in doubt,
Just do it.
just do it and go through the process,
Yeah.
because it is obviously no one wants a delay of 4 weeks,
Yeah.
and these things do come up by surprise.
Yeah.
We know what we're doing,
Yeah.
right? We're in the platform
You
every
hope so
day,
at this point.
right? Yeah, exactly. Yet still, we get caught out by these things occasionally. So I think that's really sound advice. Is if you think you're potentially going to end up in those buckets, just go ahead, go through the process and get the approval.
With the client, it was the HR team were not getting the response they wanted from the jobs that they had out on their website, and they needed some form of marketing to get out to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Obviously, we thought, well, let's try Facebook ads and see what it does. And it wasn't even something I thought about. As you said, political ads,
Definitely.
that's probably something
like gaming. Yeah, definitely.
But then if you think about the reasoning why Facebook does it, it makes a lot of sense that it limits who you can target, because they are trying to make it an all equal opportunity type thing.
Yeah, which is ultimately a good thing.
Yeah.
I think often with Facebook ads and Facebook in general, if you look at that, the intention of that is great. Let's just make sure that if anyone's running ads for jobs through our platform, we're doing our best to make sure that we're, promoting equal opportunities, and it's going to as many people as possible, and that's a great thing. The execution of that often is just not quite not quite there.
It's not what you would expect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's a useful thing for Facebook to be doing. Just don't get caught out by it, because it's such an unknown thing, and I don't personally see that many job adverts on my feed on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, this is very true, actually.
And I don't see that many housing ads at the moment, and political ads I don't really ever see, because they are so highly policed by Facebook. So it's not something that I think many people are using at the moment.
Yeah. Totally agree. But I think it's like you say, it's just go ahead and get it done. Ahead of time. But it's a good thing. I think it's just the execute. Put a bit more information out about it, because it's not obvious, is it? It's just not clear.
No. And I think you can risk it, give it a go. And Facebook, you might get through Facebook's AI system of picking things up.
Yeah.
Like we apparently had with this client. But you do run the risk of all the ads being rejected and then having this 4-week long process to get
Also,
it
I think
sorted.
the other really good bit of advice that you kind of pulled out there is if your ads are getting rejected for no obvious reason, i.e. they're amazingly safe, completely responsible ads,
Following the policies. Yeah.
and suddenly they start getting rejected, follow up on it.
Yeah.
Like,
completely.
don't just take, because often the the ad gets rejected, you'll appeal it, it gets rejected again, and the reason that short bit of text which gives you the reason that ad's been rejected
Yeah.
doesn't always make a massive amount of sense.
Yeah.
So you could end up in a position where you're on the fringes of these sectors or groups or buckets, whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
special categories. And suddenly your ads start getting rejected, you don't know why, and you keep appealing them, they're not going through. You have to dig into it, don't you, and get a reason.
Yeah, and contacting Facebook support,
Painful.
painful. Majority of the time you get someone who's not the most helpful, but you do get a key, like 1 out of 10 person is actually really good
Yep.
and really helpful.
Yep.
We recently had some ads rejected for, I think it was something to do with the copy and that it related to personal attributes.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with personal attributes at all.
Of course.
In any way, shape or form. I sent it to review, it was rejected again. Spoke to a Facebook rep, and within 3 minutes it'd been approved.
Wow.
And it was, the AI system can be funny with things.
Yeah.
I've noticed it a lot more recently in the past couple of months that things are randomly getting rejected.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Facebook support are saying, look, we are kind of struggling with the load of things that are coming through, because I think there's a lot of people having the same problems.
They're short-staffed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And I never seem to speak to the same person twice, so I don't know what the turnover is.
It just spreads so thin. They just spread so thin, I
yeah,
think.
and you need to have such a big knowledge of absolutely everything. So obviously some people are going to be helpful, and some people are not going to be helpful because they probably don't have the knowledge base for all these niche policies and niche kind of things that are happening in the account. If they don't understand it, they haven't been taught it, then they're probably not going to be that helpful.
Why would they know? Yeah. But again, third recommendation I think is know how to play support. And what I mean by that is you just said 1 out of 10 is going to be amazing. 9 out of 10, if you've got a very specific issue, may not be able to help you. Let's be putting it in a fair way. So you kind of almost, if you don't get an answer or a good enough answer, or it doesn't solve your problem, start again.
And
then start again, and then eventually
you'll get that 1 out of the 10.
And you'll get, so another example, the client that had their ad account banned took ages just to get a reason, but I don't think we ever actually got a proper reason.
2 months.
But you kept pressing on with support, and eventually were told it's not coming back. And I think, okay, great, now we can move on. And that's obviously not ideal, but what you did there was you persevered with the support. And then I know that sounds like such a simple recommendation, but actually, look, if you're going into support, you're in the chat or messenger threads, whatever it is, and you're not quite getting a good enough response,
Start again.
Start again.
And be nice. I know it sounds really weird, but you get frustrated. Something's not gone right. Like our account got disabled, and as I said, 2 months later, we still haven't actually been given a decent answer as to why. But if you're nice, they're more likely to find someone else who can help you, or escalate the issue to an internal team, or do something like that, rather than saying, oh, we helped you with all your problems today.
Here's the survey
Here's
link.
our survey. Please fill it in. Bye.
But if you go into it with the context that they're probably stretched very thin.
Yes. Yeah.
You imagine the amount of ad accounts that exist in the world. They're all, the amount of questions that are going through support. And
they're doing what we probably do in the first instance, just Google it. They're probably just going onto Google and Googling the problem, which is the first thing you can do. But I do think, I don't know what Facebook's training is like for the reps, but it's sort of Facebook support. but there are so many problems and issues that you have. It can be quite complicated, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, be nice, and hopefully you'll find someone useful,
Yeah.
or you'll find someone who's nice enough to pass you on to someone who is useful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Don't be a dick.
don't be a dick. Yeah, I mean that's a life motto as well. Just don't be a dick.
So the actionable recommendation
From today.
So don't be a knob.
Yeah.
Persevere with support.
Yeah.
Get approval ahead of time if you think there's even the most minute risk of being caught up in
Yeah,
it.
if you think HR might ask you randomly to run a Facebook job opportunity ad, just get it sorted before they ask you to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really, and if you get caught up in it, just
Sort it out.
crack on.
Yeah.
If ads are getting rejected, dig into it.
Yeah.
Don't just take it as face value.
Yeah.
I think they're probably the main
Yeah.
recommendations, and just learn about this ahead of time.
Yeah, and I think you can always, majority of the time, sort an issue out on Facebook.
Yep.
If an ad has been rejected, try and find out the reasoning, change the factor that has made it be rejected,
Yep.
and start again. There's always a way to go around things.
Yeah.
Not necessarily when the account's disabled, that's
Yeah.
a different issue, but an in-platform thing, ad rejection, there's always a way to go around it and get it
Yeah.
approved. You just
Yeah.
need to work out what the way is.
It's just pure detective work sometimes, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
it's never obvious, but
Yeah,
brilliant
that's the
stuff.
problem.
Well, look, thanks very much.
Thank you for
My
having
drink
me.
is almost empty. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. See you next time. All right.